Starfield, we're going to be looking over your dream house, the ultimate guide in building, exploring, and taking in this delightful place that you have to call home if you chose to make this one of your traits at the beginning of the game, or if you come across it in some sort of other way. So be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So the first thing to note is that you will have a quest in your missions that is your dream home. It will give you the initial details of where to find it, which is on Nisoi, which is in the Olympus system. So just back out to the galaxy so you can kind of see where that is. There's Olympus. There's some other locations, Alpha Centauri's to the left over there. So yeah, the Olympus system is kind of something you can get to pretty early on. And then Nisoi is right here. And then you'll see a nice little spot, which is your home, and you can select it and land on it. So let's exit, and let's now show off the house. So this dream home will cost you 125,000 space credits. I would recommend going into your New Game Plus before, because if you do pay off your mortgage or you do customize your house, every element of it will get reset when you go to New Game Plus, just so that you are aware of that aspect of the experience. So you get an empty house. I've got a lot of stuff knocked down here because I've been doing some video stuff, and honestly, I can't keep all this inventory. So you get a first level floor, a bathroom, a second level floor with another bathroom, and yeah, you can personally renovate every aspect of this. An open room here, you can see I've done some basic building and stuff, and set up some things. Then over here, if you go to the left, this is my succulent room, but it's now just like probably another bedroom, and then the master bedroom would be over here, where I've got a nice little bed layout and everything going on as I'm preparing for this experience. So, yeah, kind of cool, right? And then there's one more spot just to show off outside, and that is a nice deck area that you can't really customize in the traditional sense of building and manipulating stuff. But like with everything in the game, you are able to pick up stuff, drop things, so you could technically to a degree personalize this with some small elements. But yeah, kind of a nice house in a little bit of a nice little system. It really is just a lovely space. So that's just kind of the initial tour, just to give you an idea of the dream home as a trait, and just give you a little bit of glimpse of what you can kind of do with it. So let's get going to the basics. To build, you'll kind of want to find this panel that says decorate. It's right from the main door. You'll literally load in and the panel will be right there. An alternative option to pressing the A button to decorate your house is to press LB and then press X to decorate, and that will give you the same option as just clicking the decoration button. So if you're familiar with the outposts, it's kind of a similar concept. We have a sort of pick up and place kind of mode, and we've got the build mode by pressing B and or platform equivalent, and you can make things such as crafting, furniture, decorations, displays, and miscellaneous items. And you can get more items if you do use the research station, which can be found on a starter ship, or you can build your own. And if you go to the outpost development, if you've leveled up like your different skill perks that allow you to do this stuff, as in, this needs more advanced outpost engineering, you can do things such as decoration level, which will gain access for you to have more items. And if you're doing outposts, domestication, robots, so forth, and, from there. So this is actually a place where you can kind of build however you want. But sometimes things don't quite set up the way you really want them to in the proper kind of fashion. So let's go to build mode and modify mode, and I press A, and I'm like, it's just not rotating the way I want it to. But, we'll do the basics here. I mean, it is rotating the way I want it to. It's just a figure of speech. But, you can have an item, and you can kind of place it anywhere you want. On the floor, you can place it on the table. The game does have really touchy mechanics in regards to stuff overlapping, which is a little awkward, especially when you want to do shelves. It can be a little awkward to place it on a shelf And I'm hoping this is something they fix. And at that point, you really gotta just sort of like angle it awkwardly to get the right placement. And that's what I'm saying. It's like sometimes on shelving, it could be a little difficult to get where you want it. So then placing it, with the A button and then pressing A again on it to select it. I don't kind of got the door in the way. Will allow you to kind of adjust it a little bit further within a space. If you want a mug in your bathroom for some reason, that's just where it's going to go for now, I guess. But there's other ways outside of build mode that you can manipulate an object. So let's take, I don't know, Canuck Pancakes Plus. So this is kind of, there's Canadian food. I don't know if the Canadians won the space war or what, but very proud that there's so much Canadian food in this game. So we've got new ways to manipulate things. So this is actually something you can do kind of anywhere. And you just hold A, and it'll pick up the object. You see the object is picked up. And, we still have our rotate. So use the triggers, if you weren't aware, to rotate it. Right trigger this way, left trigger that way. But it's like, well, it's kind of weird. It's like it's sort of stuck. So what they don't tell you is you can actually rotate on other axes. The Z and the Y axes. So if you kind of tap in the left stick, you'll notice that now the item is rotating in a different way. Let's tap in the left stick again. And you'll notice that once again, we're able to change the axes at which the item is being used. So pretty cool and an easy way to manipulate and move objects within the game if you want to do different sorts of setups. And I don't know if the game really goes over this sort of thing, but it's incredibly helpful for getting just the right setup. And then you can press A to drop it. And then it's not like a placed object. Like these are like placed objects, so they're not kind of moving around when I touch them. So that's another aspect of it as well. So we're gonna pick it up again because there's another cool thing you can do, and you might as well add this in. You can hold X and your character will throw it. So hold X for a little bit and then just let your character just whip it across the room, and you can do that with any object. Let's do bread, I don't know. So just a little bit of a hold down and then a release. So what I like to do is when I have too many items, I drop them. And it creates like a bit of a satanic food circle when you're dropping food. But you really can drop things that you have. So let's go, for example, I don't know what I really want to show off in my environment. Canuck Double Doubles. We'll drop that. We'll drop the celery, the cheese I'm using for crafting. I'm just trying to see if there's any sort of other things I want to show off here. Usually I have a collection of wines and everything going. And like I said, I'm in New Game Plus, so my setup isn't as impressive as it was, but I do recommend getting to New Game Plus and then taking the time to actually do this. So a couple cocktail things, an exotic bottle, gardening trowel, stuff like this. So what you do is you drop it. Actually, the plants go on the second level, so I probably shouldn't have done that, but it doesn't matter. We'll bring it up there. And then when you back out, you'll notice your items drop. And they typically drop in a circle. So if I had more items, they would drop in a circle. And if you have too many items in one space, they'll kind of like go through the floor to a degree. And there's lots of like clipping and whatnot on things. But yeah. I should also mention you do have a cooking station built in. Don't seem to have anything else, but you have a cooking station. So we got our items, and now we want to place the items within the environment. So obviously my plant belongs in the succulent room. But I could, put it on objects in the environment too if I'd like to. And the coolest thing about this is really experimentation. Like, how do I want to set up my room? What do I want to do? It's like The Sims in space, honestly. Like, do I want a plant up on this shelf? It's pretty neat. And you really can, to a degree, experiment with things, because you might be able to get some objects to float. You might be surprised that you can place objects on, like, the sides of things, like couches and whatnot, or on couches. And, it'll just kind of nestle and it'll sit there, and it'll be there permanently, unless there's like a weird bug where stuff kind of phases through items, which does happen. But, it's really neat because you get to really set up your environment however you want to. And I think that's a really, really cool touch within the game. You can also put stuff like, sort of to a degree, you should be able to. I accidentally pressed the B button and dropped that back. That's hilarious because I wanted to like crouch and put it down there, but yeah. So it's really quite neat, and you can build a lot of stuff, and you can really make the environment your own sort of environment. So let's talk a little bit about the building mode. So this area, there's quite a lot you can do. It is hard to find the resources to be able to build all of this stuff, and I have put a lot of the resources on the ground here because honestly I've wound up with way too many things, which in itself can be annoying. So you'll see that there's a selection, items where there's multiple versions, and as I mentioned, if you research new things, you can get new items. So I've got like 24 types of chairs. So if I move left on or right on the D-pad, either way, you can see you get a wide selection of different chairs. And in the top left, it tells you the building requirements needed. So adhesive seems to be a big holdback for me. I don't know why you can't just like order in furniture like a regular person, like pay a credit sum instead and just have the object. That actually would be a pretty good idea. So yeah, basically you got a bunch of stuff and there's limits to how you can build things. You know, couches, other couches, benches, stools, beds, you know, sleeping bags, you know, if you want to sleep on the floor. But I obviously have a much more magnificent bed going on, I think, and you really just kind of get to set it up how you want, right? That is a big issue, is a lack of resources for me to actually build things I want to. Futon. Oh wow, that's actually kind of nice. So yeah, let's try to build something, I don't know, a little bit more like aesthetic wise in the environment that we can kind of put in. Pedestal. I don't know if I really want any of this stuff. That's the problem, is the building aspect. And then there's so I guess we should kind of go bit by bit. So the crafting stuff, and again, I don't have everything unlocked because there's so many different tiers to it. But your crafting stuff is where you get the basics. Keep in mind that you do have like a cooking area already in there, so you don't need one. It's in your kitchen. But I would recommend getting something like a research lab, especially if you have like the second tier New Game Plus ship that doesn't seem to have one on, that I at least haven't been able to find it. And then like the mission board is awesome. So that's under miscellaneous, is the mission board, for which there are two types if you want different types of mission boards, and the self-clearance bounty. If you get a lot of bounties, you do a lot of like sus stuff. Oh, your house is also great for throwing a bunch of like sketchy items that you're not supposed to have anywhere else, just in case you don't know where to sell them for a bit. Your house is a good place to put those down. And be careful running through your environment, because your miscellaneous items will just go like splattering and flying across the environment, which is a pain. So yeah, some miscellaneous, but you know, I would recommend kind of keep your like work stuff to your outpost. But if you want your house, it's kind of like maybe in Fallout 4, because this is a lot like Fallout 4's kind of building. Maybe keep that stuff in like a specific room if you want to have a work room. I keep this stuff maybe in like an outpost instead, as not to like busy up in my environment, because I do want it to feel like a nice living space. And then furniture, you have like such a wide range of things, you know, different types of beds, different types of desks, some partitions, office stuff. Like a lot of it is bleed over from basically the outpost too, like it's shared stuff, right? I do wish I had some aluminum so that I could actually build some wall shelves. That would be great. And then the decorations is actually quite helpful too, because you can have storage crates. So storage crates, just excellent for actually keeping your supplies. You know, actually having like a bunch of stuff so it's not just all over the floor. Same with the storage boxes. You can go fancier with a safe, but I mean, it's a single player game, so I don't know why you would need that. And then, you know, you got like things like posters and pictures you can put up. Laser love. Warning signs, you can have mounted stuff, which is pretty cool. Monitors, which I'm going to try to act like it's a bit of a TV. Dartboards, you know, rugs for the floor mats, dry cleaners. It is interesting, though, that outposts can seemingly have little cleaning robots, but your dream house doesn't seem to be able to. But we've also got things like coffee tables, planters. So, you know, if you want to have a nice selection of plants anywhere. I have noticed, though, I don't really see too many flowers or any flowers at all. So hopefully that's something we get someday. I'm sure this will be expanded upon, and then you get things like the earth globe and sculptures. Then we have your displays. So the displays is actually really helpful. So the mannequin, it's like, why do I need a mannequin? Like, what is the point of a mannequin? So mannequins, you can actually store your stuff on them. Like, if you want to kind of put on, say, like, outfits or something, it could maybe be kind of creepy. It'd be like a Will Smith I Am Legend thing. But you can do that if you want to. And then, you know, display cases that you can transfer stuff into. So if you want to display things in a display case, you can transfer to that. Same with this would be really good for, like, you know, you can kind of line up little figurines or anything you come across, or maybe you want this kind of thing. And just sort of giving you an idea of like preset place stuff that you can interact with. Same with like any cool space helmets or weapon racks. We're going to show the process off a little bit in a sec because we do have a weapon rack set up. And then, you know, another weapon rack option, weapon cases, backpack stands, you know, that kind of stuff. So we've got that going on there. Just want to make sure we're showing everything. Track, build. Oh, yeah, and you can also track. And then again, left corner, top left corner is telling you what you need for these particular items in order to build. And create that sort of thing. I don't suppose... Yeah, no, we don't have any aluminum. I just need to keep going to stations and buying a bunch of, like, miscellaneous items and just bringing it back here so we can actually create stuff. It's a really tedious process to get what you want, but, you know, worth it. So we're exiting build mode, and this is where we have our stations. So let's say you set up a weapon rack. It's very easy. You can take stuff from your weapon rack. You can admire your weapon rack. You can press X to get more in-depth transfer options. You know, press LB for inventory, stuff like that. Get weapons. I don't know. I could throw this on here if I wanted to, just by, you know, storing it with the A button. This is supposed to be like an old-timey earth weapons kind of rack to show that off, because it's kind of neat, I think. But that's kind of the idea of that. You would do the same sort of process if you had like a proper shelf. But, you know, sometimes you do want to add items to shelving and everything like that, and it's very easy to do and adjust, and it's all very, very simple in regards to, you know, setting up the space as you want it to be. You really do kind of get that high sense of freedom of being like, how do I want my space to look? What do I want in my space? What am I carrying with me? Why does all this stuff fall through the floor? Very legitimate questions. But let's just go over a little bit of item placement. So we got a duck. Duck's pretty cool. Don't want to put the duck in front of the earth wind. See, that's what I was talking about. Sometimes stuff like phases through the floor. It's really weird. So you kind of line it up, use the sensitivity of the right stick to get the right spot for it. You know, you can rotate it LTRT if you want. Press A and it's placed. And it's going to stay there. Sometimes it's going to float through the ground, which is a pain. You just pick it up and reset it, but yeah, sometimes it's hard, especially on shelves, to get just the right placement for things, and it can be a little daunting to kind of do that. And, you know, it does take a lot of work to get this all set up. So that's why I am recommending that if you are going to, like, you know, seriously kind of build stuff, is just keep in mind that New Game Plus, because it can be a pain to actually sit here, customize your experience, and then just be like having to redo everything. So make sure you find the new game status that you're happy with and just kind of like stick with it, because otherwise you're just going to be really disappointed having to sit there and like rebuild stuff, because it can be a nightmare. Because it's like, I spent all this time, you know, setting this stuff up, and it's just like, ugh. This is what I'm saying, is like shelving is so awkward to like kind of like set things up. Like, it really can be quite frustrating is the biggest thing. But I mean, house building this, I think, is really quite simple for the most part. I mean, like, if you kind of about where you look and whatnot, where you place stuff. But, you know, it's a lot easier if you just want to place stuff on tables. You just want to put stuff on here. These things are shelves. Much, much easier than it is placing stuff within the preset environment within this game. And that in itself can be a little daunting to take care of and stuff. But I am happy to answer any questions you have about building. I'm doing my best to kind of like showcase this off. I did want to quickly present, though, that if you are trying to pay off that mortgage, I thought with this being a complete home guide, that we do obviously need to show off the place where you can pay off your mortgage. And I put this at the end of the video just because I didn't want to have a big distraction, but it is available on New Atlantis, which apparently I am having a very hard time actually getting to. So let's head our way over to the commercial district of the game. So here we are in the commercial district. This is when you're going to pay off your dream home. You would have an indicator mark as a quest that you could set to that actually tells you to go talk to this person. So it's where you first learn how to get a mortgage, and then you go talk to the dude about how to pay it. Have 125,000 credits, you can pay it off. He'll also give you another quest for bounties. It's this dude. It's your Tom Nook of Starfield. Easy person chat through, and easy person chat to. And yeah, I hope this helps with your dream home. Good luck buying it. Good luck decorating it. Again, liking the video is great. Subscribing is great as well. And see you out there in Starfield.